My name is Mahendra Mehta. Mahendra is taken after the one of the Trinity God. Uh, the Trinity gods are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar. Shankar is the last part of the Trinity, and he is the one who is the, identified as the destroyer of illusions and destroyer of evil. So, and also he is the most benevolent of the three gods. Mahendra is Maha Indra. Maha is the large, and Indra means the one who has control over all his faculties. And that translates to the Trinity God ship. I am doing this uh, video recording as an expression of my love for my daughter and my granddaughters. Uh, I believe that universe is a connected reality of living and non-living beings directed or controlled by a force larger than all of us. And that benevolent force guides our uh, activities and our lives, and it keeps us connected, and it is our uh, responsibility or our job to find what purpose are we putting to this universe for, and we if we find why we are put into this universe and move towards that in harmony with rest of the universe, then that benevolent force helps us get there. With that as a background, I have lived my life to be in harmony with the reality that I have understood this universe to be. So now I will give a brief history about my life. I was born in Bhavnagar, which is a small port village, a port town in Gujarat. I don't know about the special impact, but the memory that I have, and it is a vague memory, is I was about 3 years old and I was playing in my grandfather's room. My grandfather was the patriarch of our family, and he was in his room. We had a safe in which all our family's jewelries and valuables were kept, and usually my grandfather's room was occupied by him, my grandmother, and usually they would keep it locked or at least doors closed. I was the youngest child, so I had like extra privileges to go and play there. And I was playing there. So my grandpa probably had to go for bathroom or whatever. So he left and I was there, and he had probably not locked, I don't know, not locked the door. Two men came who were waiting outside the building, entered the room, picked up the safe, and ran away. When my grandfather came back, he says, "What happened? Did somebody move the safe?" And I said, "Yeah, there were two men who came and it was a commotion." I I was 3 or 4 years old. I had no idea as to what was happening, but it has remained as a memory in my head because my grandfather was very much upset. He, of course, through his savings and all, reimbursed everybody for whatever people lost. He was a very honorable man, but it created a huge commotion in our family. But to this date, I feel a little responsible, which I don't know whether I should or not. I mean, what does a 4-year-old do? So that is one memory that I remember. The second memory that I want to talk about is that in our neighborhood, we were the only ones who had a radio. When Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated, we brought out our radio from my uncle's room in a veranda and put it on a table. And the commentary, the description of what was happening was being continuously broadcast on the radio. And I remember that there were about 20 or maybe 40 neighbors who came and sat down on the floor and listened, and everybody was crying. So that was the memory. At that time I was like 8 or so. So I do remember that incident very well. Associated with that is another incident that shows a little bit of my character. And that is that there was a group of people who used to get together and exercise, but also they were fundamentalists. One of my uncle, who was our house guest, was part of that exercise group. Gandhi was assassinated by one of those fundamentalist person. So anybody who was associated with that was put into temporary confinement. When I heard that my Anumama was one of them people who was confined, I said, "I will not eat till you go get him." And in those days, you had to pull so many strings to get somebody out of a jail. Now, it was a temporary confinement, but my uncle and everybody went to the king and this and that, and they got him out, and when they brought him home, then only I agreed to eat. And this was like 8-year-old boy doing a protest in what he believed. He knew that my Anumama did not kill Gandhi. Okay, so that is basically the two memories that I have. I was in Bhavnagar till I was 11 years old. Then my father got a job in Mumbai, and we came to Mumbai, and I was from 1953 to 1964 in Mumbai. I went to Bazar Gate High School, Jai Hind College. IIT Mumbai and lived in with my parents in a small suburb of Mumbai called Mazgaon. I had five sisters, and my parents, we lived in a government building, and we had a fairly exclusive area to live in. We had our own tennis courts and our own garden. Parents were one of the most dedicated parents. I must talk about my dad and my mom. Uh, my dad did anything and everything that he could to make sure that his children got the best education. His, if I have to summarize my dad, was in one word, I would say support education. Not only he made sure that we all got good education, he made sure that everybody that came in contact with him got education. He lost his eyesight last 15 years of his or 10 years of his life, and even when he was not able to see, he would teach people uh, mathematics, engineering, without being able to see. So he was very education focused. And he made sure, and in India girls don't get education as much, but he made sure that every sister of mine, he made sure, for instance, that Kailas got a chance to do PhD, and he sent her to Columbia, and he made sure that she had all the facility to do her PhD. And same way with me, he sent me here. He used all his retirement saving to send me here. Now, fortunately, I was able to reimburse him for it. But basically, his focus was on education. My mother was the full supporter of that. I remember the days when she would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to make sure that we would all have had our breakfast, we all had taken our shower, we were ready to do our studies, and she would set us all down and we will do our studies. And then in India, the school starts at like 10 o'clock. So in the morning, she will make nice something that would be like a brunch, give us warm food, feed us, and then we'll go to school. Like that, she worked all her life. She took care of not only her five children, but my grandparents and all the guests who would come to Mumbai and stay with us. She would feed them. If I have to sum up my mom, just like I sum up my dad, it is service. She served everybody from the day she was married to the day she died. She would make sure that she would, and serving her in-laws, serving guests, serving, of course, my dad would come for lunch, make sure she would feed my dad. We all have a nice dinner, all that, and take care of washing clothes, cleaning house, everything. But more than anything else, service. And again, coming back, they were always focused on making sure that their children, their relatives, their friends, everybody got ahead of life through education. Father's name was Bhaskar Mehta. He was born in Karachi. At that time it was India. And he was one of the early engineers. He wanted me to become an engineer. So he had saved his slide rule. In those days, we used to calculate for me to become an engineer. My mother was born in a very small town in Gujarat, and her father was somebody who collected taxes for the king, and he was a very loving maternal grandfather. So when I visited their town, he would put me on his shoulder and took me around the town. So those are my memories of my parents and grandparents. My paternal grandparents lived with, we all lived as a joint family till we were in Bhavnagar. Then my paternal grandfather came to live with us in Mumbai, and he passed away in Mumbai. My maternal grandmother lived with us for a year or two after my grandfather passed away, and then she went back to Bhavnagar. So that is essentially the story of my father, grandfather, and grandparents. My five sisters, the oldest one name is Divya. She is a dentist by training. She won the gold medal of Bombay University, that is given to the person who has the highest rank in the university. She had a very good dental practice in Southern California in a town called Cerritos. She, again, just like I did, retired from her private dental practice to take care of her grandson, and she, to this day, is taking care of him. She also is like me, very family person. She holds her family, her in-laws and everybody together, and brings a harmony in that family. Divya Pathak, her husband's name is Amrish Pathak, who is a health professional, and he is also a very loving, we call him a older brother because he takes care of things that I cannot take care of. Divya has two daughters. Divya's older daughter is Archana. She has a doctorate in communications, and she is in Richmond teaching communication, University of Virginia at Richmond. Her second daughter is Radha. She is a lawyer and law professor at Fullerton College, I believe, and she has a son by name of Kavi. The second sister's name is Kailas. Kailas has PhD in pharmacology. She worked for NIH, and she also worked for Bureau of Standards. She has her own company in medical technology, and she is married to Dhiren Thakur, who himself is a physical chemist. He's a dean of physical chemistry at University of North Carolina, and he is, I believe, now retired, but he has also a consulting practice. She has two sons. The older one is Anand. Anand is married to Jane, and he is a teacher, and Jane is also a teacher. They both live in Maryland, and they have a daughter that was just recently born about a year ago. Her second son is Ashish. Ashish is a entrepreneur and little bit of a, how shall I say, a unique personality. He started working as bartender, and now he is a manager of Hilton Head Resort, uh, one of the Hilton Head Resort, and he is a very enterprising young man. I'm very proud of Ashish. The third sister is Neela. Neela Narang is a accountant and a controller. She is married to Lucky Narang. Lucky Bhai is also a bank professional. He's a manager of PNC Bank in Washington, D.C. Neela is a controller of a private accounting company, not one of the big five, but one of the more reputed in Maryland. Both of them are very active in their social environment. They have three children. The oldest one is Veena. Veena has a daughter, Alina, and Alina is about 8 years old, and Neela helps raise Alina. Alina again is very active young girl. Neela's second daughter is Pooja. Pooja is married to Sajan. Sajan is a mechanical engineer, and they both recently moved to Dallas, and they have two daughters, and Neela goes to help them out once in a while. And the third child is Gopi. Gopi got married to Kate 2 years ago, and they are both in, again, North Carolina, in a town called College Town. Gopi is a doctor, and he is working in the hospital in the College Town. The fourth sister is Rita. Rita is again an accountant, and she is married to Mukesh Bhai, and Mukesh Bhai is also an accountant. They both live in West Covina, and they both work for private companies in West Covina as accounting professionals. They have a son, Dave, who just got married last year. Dave and his bride, Ishita, live in San Francisco, and they are establishing themselves here. Both of them are computer professionals. The last sister is Arti. We call her Nettie because she was the last one. She has two daughters. First one is Hiral. Hiral got married 2 years ago, and she is married to a Dr. Sunit, and they live in Wisconsin. And Hiral is a psychological professional, and she has a practice with with one of the hospitals, and I'm not sure what exactly that is. The second one is Vandana, and Vandana is also finished her studies, and she is working as a professional in her field of expertise. Aarti is again a accounting professional, and she is working in Washington, D.C. Her husband Yatin Bhai is also a accounting professional. He works for a government office in Washington D.C. So that's my sisters and brothers-in-law, and most of them are all on the West Coast. While I'm talking about my sisters and brother-in-law, I must mention my cousin brother. He is like a brother to me. His name is Mahendra Bhatt. We call him Bakul. Bakul is like a younger brother. They live in Boston. He has one son, Snehal, and he has a daughter, Manisha, and they all live together in Boston. Uh, Bakul and I grew up together, and I was very interested in him coming to America. He came to America. He went to school in South America, and in those days there was discrimination, so he couldn't manage it. So I called him. He stayed with me, and then he found a college in Boston, and then he has done very well there. We both laugh and joke each other whenever we talk to. So he is like my younger brother, and I thought I would mention about Bakul. Okay, so that is my family. In 1964, I got admitted to Stanford University. I came here and did my master's at Stanford University in structural engineering. After finishing structural engineering, I came to San Francisco and worked in various places. My first job was at Southern Pacific Railway Company, built some unique bridges and computerized evaluation of railroad bridges. I was more familiar with computer in that department than anyone else, so I got some unique responsibilities. Uh, After 8 years working there, I moved to a world reputed company in earthquake engineering run by the international authority, Dr. John A. Bloom, uh, and learned the fundamentals and nuances of earthquake engineering from him and his uh, colleagues, and obviously the whole company was the expert earthquake engineering company. I rose from a very junior position to a project engineer because I was able to work with everybody. Then I was hired by a company out of Los Angeles to be manager of their Northern California branch, Robert A. Inglekirk. And I was manager of their company for 8 years. And the business was slowing down, so I was offered to go to Los Angeles, but for family reasons, I declined, and we saw friendly parting of the ways. I then joined the state of California at Division of State Architect, again at a journeyman level, but through the talent and through the hard work, I rose to the level of manager. I was appointed a manager of a newly opened San Diego office of the Division of State Architect. Division of State Architect had a reputation of being the most unfriendly and a difficult agency to work with. I joined and started working with all the professionals, architects, engineers, contractors, and our department, and collaborate, and brought everybody together. My biggest accomplishment was to establish a collaborative and cooperative environment for all the parties who used to be at loggerheads with each other and finding each other's faults. Instead, we became collaborative and delivered school facilities. The responsibility of the agency was to deliver school facilities safe and at a right price. And I believe my biggest accomplishment was to try to bring everybody together and uh, establish a collaborative environment. And when I left after 20 years, everybody was very appreciative of the fact that we created a new environment, and our agency, and even to this date, San Diego office enjoys the reputation of being one of the most friendly and most uh, efficient agency to work with. People would want to move a project from Northern California to San Diego because they found the, the collaborative environment. So my accomplishment, if there is one, was to bring people together. And I believe it goes back to that harmony that I mentioned earlier. So that is my career. I will go back a little bit to talk about me and my wife. In 1970, I went back to India. In those days, the traditional was to have what is known as an arranged marriage. Our arranged marriage was one of the most successful that has been written up in Gujarati literature. Meera was by training an attorney, a probation officer, and a social worker. She was already working as a probation officer when we met. We One of the hallmark of our union was that we both had a similar view of life. What I liked, she liked. What she liked, I liked. Being the first generation or immigrant, we were focused on our ethnic heritage and what that ethnic heritage brought to the society where we were. My one and only child is Kala. My wife wrote a novel when she was 16-year-old, and the name of the book is Kala Pranay. Kala means art and Pranay means love. So the book had a theme of a couple that falls into love with each other through art. So, and when we came to this, when we got married and we started focusing on our ethnic heritage, art became a part of our focus. When our daughter was being born, we used to think about names that we would give her, him or her. Kala was no choice. We had agreed that if it was daughter, it was Kala. If the boy was born, then Pranay, I and Meera would not agree on. First, because I said it's such a complicated name in America, it would be, people would mispronounce and all that. And we were thinking other names. Well, fortunately, we had a daughter. She has been a tremendous source of strength and happiness for me. We have raised her with all that we think are the good values, and she has taken that and expanded that into even a greater value for the society. And I'm very proud and very happy about it. And I would feel very satisfied with what she has done with her family, with raising her children, and what she is doing for the society. After our daughter was born and she was mature, we started doing several things that promoted and supported our ethnic heritage, that included supporting music, art, literature, and we spent several hours, lot of our personal wealth, lot of our time doing music concerts and literature meetings and things of that nature. What that also did was to bring us in contact with some of the giants of our heritage. Among them, the most notable was Ustad Ali Akbar Khan, who had a college of teaching Indian classical music. He taught over 3,000 uh, people from scratch the nuances of Indian classical music. We were very fortunate to have his affection and his closeness, and we were part of the college's development in earlier years. Uh, we also continued that endeavor where we went. We were in Sacramento for 3 years, and we were in San Diego for 15, and we continued that kind of activity all throughout our life. My favorite piece of music was that gentleman, that teacher, that guru, Ustad Ali Akbar Khan, would do a morning concert in early spring in Berkeley. When he would sit on the stage, he would have his head bowed. He would, unlike all the other performers, he would never be looking like that or looking for applause. He would always be like doing a prayer. He would start playing it, and within 10 or 15 seconds, he would transcend most of us who were there paying attention, not like listening attention, our whole being attention. We would be transcended to a higher reality. I have seen and felt people crying when they listened to that music. That was perhaps the most transcendental experience that I and Mira have gone through. We would, that Saturday morning, early spring, March, April, with Ustad Ali Akbar Khan playing morning ragas in Berkeley at Julia Morgan Center, is one that would be the 20 minutes that was worth the rest of the life. Amazing music. I mean, I love Itzhak Perlman. I love Arthur Fiedler. I love Yehudi Menuhin, Ravi Shankar, all those amazing musicians. And of course, I like poetry. So I like poetry type of music. But nothing comes close to Ustad Ali Akbar Khan's morning concerts. So that was the best music I have heard. After retirement, due and do, in last in late 90s through 2014, due to health reasons, etc., we didn't do too much. Uh, in last few years, Mira and I decided that besides being with our grandchildren, we wanted to travel. So we traveled to Alaska and Canada and Caribbean and Mexico and things like that. Mostly by cruises and sometimes by train and things like that. And we enjoyed that. We also attended a lot of literary conferences. I have always been a family person. When our granddaughters were born, we saw our role as grandparents. We saw that that was our primary responsibility. So we decided to move towards retirement. So first 2 years, my boss, the state architect, created a special uh, position for me in Sacramento. So I worked 2 years in Sacramento, and then our second granddaughter was born, so we decided to retire. So I retired in 2008, and I and my wife lived together from 2008 to 2014 when she passed away. My two granddaughters are Sarika and Dia. Sarika is a very dedicated and a loving uh, person. She takes care of her younger sister like a mother. She is also a good athlete. She uh, wants to be a good skater, and I think she is putting a tremendous effort into that. And I'm very proud. Whether she becomes a Olympic champion or not, the fact that she enjoys and puts in this tremendous amount of effort in improving herself is of a great sense of satisfaction to me. Dia, on the other hand, is an artist. You should see some of her paintings. She is amazing. At age of 11, we have hung up two of her paintings, and I would put them next to Monet. Really, she is so expressive and so, how shall I say, artistic, that I am very proud of her. She also is very determined about whatever she does. She, unlike her sister, she knows exactly what she wants to do. I mean, both of them do, but Dia knows exactly what she wants to do when she wants to do. And she is a voracious reader. I bet she finishes 4 books in a week, maybe 5. So, amazing reader. And I'm also very proud of that. So, both of them are very loving daughters, granddaughters. So, that's my family. Live in harmony, be happy, and be truthful and non-violent. Uh, Universe, there is a very benevolent force out there that would always take care of you. There is a belief that anything that happens, you get a cancer, that is also for your benefit. So there is a benevolent force out there to take care of you. So live without fear, live in harmony, live truthful, and live non-violent. You will have a very happy life. So be one of those things and you will have a very meaningful life. Well, what I would like to pass on to them, and one of them is to be truthful. I have tried to be truthful, and I must honestly say that I have compromised way beyond I should have. There have been instances where I have told white lies. There have been times when I wanted to be truthful and I have, for expediency, I have uh, deviated from telling a truth. But I have always felt bad about doing that. And I have always felt that had I been more truthful, it would have been little bit more peaceful for me. But I have compromised. I must agree to that. But I feel that as I grow older, I want to be more truthful. I want to be more, and I want to impart it on my daughter and especially my granddaughters, that when given a choice, be more truthful than uh, try to be not truthful. The second value that I think I want to impart on my children and my family and my loved ones is being non-violent. Violence is a thing that hurts you more than it hurts the other party. Violence compromises the inner core, in my opinion. So, being violent physically, mentally, sociologically, and psychologically are all negative. Trying to be non-violent. There is a very good American saying that when you have choice to be right or kind, be kind. So I want to impart that on my children. I think be non-violent in the largest sense of the word. The best example my granddaughter taught me: when there is a fly, you can swat it, you can spray it and kill it. But she found that flies can't see, and if you put a transparent glass of thing on them, then they get trapped in there. Then you can put a paper and then put them out in their environment. That way you haven't done anything to them. At the same time, you have been non-violent. So my younger granddaughter taught me that, and that is a lesson in non-violence. So that is the second value that I want to be. And then the third value is to be in harmony with rest. As I said in the beginning, the universe is connected reality. If we are connected with each other, if we are in harmony, then we are little bit more at peace with ourselves and with the rest of the world. So be in harmony is the third value that I want to, so having less number of, what shall I say, people we don't like, or things that we hate are probably not in harmony. Try to be in harmony. Everybody has something that is good. There may be something that may not be something that we like, but then you don't have to like everything about everybody. Huh? I believe there is number of ways one develops oneself. The formal education is of course very important, but I think there is another form of developing that is equally important and perhaps more important, and that is through personal transformation of knowledge and learning, what I would call as mentorship. Mentors are perhaps the most valuable relations that one can have. In India, we have what is known a concept that what is known as guru. Guru is, in old days, people would live with guru and learn every aspect of living from the guru. Now that times have gone, but the concept of guru is not gone. Concept of mentor is not gone. And I have been fortunate to have not a continuous but a short form of mentoring that has improved my professional life, my personal life. One instance I will tell you of that. I mean, there are many, but one that I will tell you that had improved my life considerably. When I was appointed manager of a newly opened office in San Diego, I went to see the state architect, my boss, and I told him that I'm going there. Do you want to give me any advice? And then the state architect told me. And our agency at that time, as I had said earlier, was one of the most despised agency. People used to criticize us. People used to be saying, nasty things about our office because we were very bureaucratic office at that time. So the state architect told me that when somebody criticizes you, be sure to thank him, because he doesn't have to criticize you. He criticizes you because he cares for what you are doing. He could have gone and told 20 other people that Mahendra is doing this thing wrong. Instead, he came and told you, gave you a chance to improve. So be sure to thank him. So what I have learned from there is that when I get a negative feedback, don't take it personally. Try to find what I can learn from there. Now that is a real mentoring. No textbook will teach you that. That is what a mentor teaches you. So I would say that if you want to be a best actor, or if you want to be a best skater, find a mentor that you can personally relate, and then have a personal relation. You don't have to be connected to them 24/7, but that 2 minutes that you spend with them could give you a life lesson. So you ask me for a motto, you ask me for a life lesson that I can impart to my children, that would be the one. I am less dogmatic, I am more pragmatic about the reality. I believe the reality is the universe, or the universe is the reality. I do not particularly believe that the dogmatic forms of what people call God or organized religion has much to offer for personal development. I also believe that us being here is a specific event that happens, and I believe if one looks into the DNA development, that there is some connection with the reality that brings us here and takes us out of here. But it is something one has to understand, and I have not understood it, so I cannot elaborate on it. But I certainly don't think that there is a dogmatic God out there. I do not believe in organized religion. I do not believe in, how shall I say, ritualistic uh, thing, because I believe that is taking away time and resources away from doing something that is more valuable. The more valuable thing is to help other human beings, other living things, other things that are part of the universe, rather than going after something so abstract that doesn't seem to provide any value. At least that's my reality. It may not be someone else's, and I am not in conflict with anybody like that. I have been very fortunate. I was the youngest child growing up in a joint family. I was, I had a loving parents who were fully dedicated to us, all of their children. I came to live in one of the best places in the world. I went to some of the best educational institutions. I have had a very easy life. I haven't had much to overcome, to be honest with you. I had a loving family, environment. I worked in institutions where there were people who taught me things. So I believe I have had not much to overcome. Uh, so when somebody asks me what I had to overcome, I have to say that I have had a very easy life. I have had a very fortunate life, and I have had much love. Cannot get better. I'm the most fortunate person in the world. Really. I feel I may not have $1 million, and I may not have the big reputation or big position, or and I have shied away from all those things anyways. But I am the most fortunate person in the world, and I every morning when I get up, I do thank the higher reality for giving me such a easy life. I wanted to do the legacy project primarily as a loving expression for my daughter and my granddaughters and my rest of my family. I think when I am not available, they can look at it and see what I meant to them and they meant to me. That's why I wanted to do this, and I appreciate having a chance to do it. I think it's a very good idea because the family often wants to find out what grandpa said or what was his thought on this subject. So yes, I think it's a decent idea, and with the new technology now, you can find ways of sharing and ways of reaching out to people who may not have kept the contact with you as much. So I think it's a great idea. So that is in a nutshell the history of my life.